Time for another great podcast from ICRT. But first, a message from one of our outstanding partners. Don't forget, more information and fun on the ICRT app or at icrt.com.tw. ICRT. Listen with the world.
Opening on October 5th, Texas Roadhouse is bringing Taichung residents its delicious, juicy steaks and barbecue ribs. Located on Shizheng Road, Texas Roadhouse is looking forward to serving up legendary food, legendary service, and legendary fun.
美味的手工鲜切牛排10月5日登陆台中，德州鲜切牛排台中店位在西屯区市政路581-6号，传奇性的美式风味等你来尝鲜。
This week, we continue our look into the upcoming Kaohsiung Eco-Mobility Festival in the month of October with a conversation with the director of ICLEI's Kaohsiung Community Center, Mr. Cheng Tsu-jui. Mr. Zeng, thank you for coming on to the Taiwan Talk. How are you doing?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Could you please explain what ICLEI is for our listenership?
So ICLEI is an international organization, which is an international global network of more than 1,500 cities, towns, and regions committed to building a sustainable future. Then ICLEI stands for International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives, which is ICLEI Local Government for Sustainability, which is founded in 1990s in Germany, in Bonn, Germany.
Why does ICLEI work on a city level rather than a national level?
So ICLEI works on the climate actions and sustainable city development. And I think we believe the cities and subnational areas are actually the foot soldiers for climate action, because I couldn't really see how the climate action could be achieved or could be realized without the participation of the local government and local residents. So kind of ICLEI envisions a world of sustainable cities that confronts the reality of the problems caused by urbanization. And we believe that by help, all these global level strategy cascades down to local governments will really help realize and to help the urban environment, to help the climate action.
So why does ICLEI have an office in Kaohsiung instead of other cities in Taiwan?
So Kaohsiung was actually a no-go area because of the heavy industry, because of the air pollution, because of the lack of public transport. It's literally a no-go area. People wouldn't be able to settle down and to raise their family there. But now, for the past probably 5 or 10 years, we could see the transformation of Kaohsiung. And Kaohsiung has transformed itself from a kind of a port, a heavy industry city, to a more family-friendly, to a more inviting and welcoming environment, particularly after the introduction of the metro system and now the up-and-coming tram system. So that I think that Kaohsiung is actually the epitome of the transformation of Taiwan's environment. So that's probably the reason why ICLEI decided to set up an office in Kaohsiung as opposed to other cities in Taiwan.
What sort of resistance has there been to changing transportation modes to only electric vehicles for the event?
Well, I think for electric vehicles, the problem would be for electric vehicles itself would be the cost of the electric vehicles, such as the either cars or scooters, and also infrastructure that could support the electric vehicles in terms of charging, maintenance, repairs. But cost and infrastructure aside, it's more about the motorist or scooter users' behaviors of transforming from a more fossil fuel vehicles and mode of transport to electric vehicles. And also beyond that, there will be public transport as well, cycling, biking, even walking, because walking, that's the mode of transport that's been written of in many of the public transportation books and guidelines. So it's more I would say it's more the behavior, the mentality of the users, the local residents, to adopt to a newer, a greener, more sustainable mode of transport.
What steps have been taken to mitigate the growing pains, to help people transition to thinking of transportation differently?
That would be the growing pain is actually, like people are always joking about, like a scooter is actually part of the DNA of Taiwanese, and we can really live without having a scooter. I believe you probably have a scooter. I have a scooter. I've had more than one scooter, and to like give up the sense of freedom of using scooter to say slower kind of electric scooters or electric cars or even the public transport. And that's actually quite painful for the local residents, including myself. But as we have now getting used to the public awareness of the sustainable environment, also, like I said, the Kaohsiung city government has been building up all these public transportation networks, and they have been trying to keep the fare affordable to people, the timeline, the schedule, which is reliable and dependable for local residents. It's kind of a attraction to local residents to use the public transport. The growing pain would be to give up the sense of owning your own private mode of transport, the scooters. That would be the growing pain. But I think people nowadays are getting more aware of how to keep our environment sustainable and to keep our environment greener and livable for the next generation.
So is that what the end goal is for ICLEI, to leave the world in a better place for the next generation in terms of eco-mobility?
Yes. The overarching strategy, overarching agenda for ICLEI is to develop a sustainable city, a sustainable urban area for the next generation.
And what does that mean for people, for their use of vehicles? How does ICLEI see the most efficient or the ideal use of vehicles in the future?
The ideal use of transportation, or the options of the use of the transportation will be the public transportation, as to, I would say, giving up your private vehicles, giving up your private mode of transport, but just embrace the public transportation, like the metro, as we say, like metro or the tram, walking and cycling. That's the long-term sustainable goal for a sustainable development strategy for ICLEI's eco-mobility ideas.
Okay, so what makes Kaohsiung the pioneer or example for the rest of Taiwan or globally? Because I know I live in Taipei, and I know the MRT here is pretty extensive, and we have a good system of buses as well.
I mean, as you say, it's undeniable. Taipei has probably so far the best metro network or MRT network so far in Taiwan. But what Kaohsiung's been doing is also providing, and also Kaohsiung is integrating different modes of transportation in terms of the metro and the tram system and the bike sharing system. Now there are the traditional bikes with docking stations. Also there are old bikes, which is you could borrow with your app just by scanning through a QR code. And also Kaohsiung is working on this river, the ferry services along the Aihe, and also they're opening up the harbors, the pier of the Kaohsiung. So they're integrating different modes of transportation. And as opposed to Taipei, Kaohsiung is I would say it's more compact. It's more like it could be a area for more experimental strategies and experimental public services implementations. And it's kind of the pioneer, how Kaohsiung pride themselves as a pioneer in the public transportation. And also, for the past 3-4 years, the city of Kaohsiung has been the chair of the Eco-Mobility Alliance. And just because Kaohsiung is in southern Taiwan, we've been doing so many things which is not really noticed by the media and not noticed by people in other parts of the Taiwan. But Kaohsiung has been the chair of the Eco-Mobility Alliance, has been promoting the public transport, not about Kaohsiung, but about the experiences of Taiwanese, the strategies of public transportation. And we share our experience with our international memberships and our collaborators, and in so many of the conferences and international summits.
How far is Kaohsiung along their plan to create their public transport system?
So as we know, Kaohsiung now has 2 metro lines, and which is running across the city center. And there would be very likely to be a yellow line which will be running in the North Kaohsiung, and that would be 3 metro system in the future. And now the tram, the so-called light rail system, will be up and running at the end of this month, just in time for the Eco-Mobility Festival, which is a festival running throughout the whole October. And so tram system will be there, and for the all these like local residents and also our international guests. And also, Kaohsiung pioneered itself as to have the first ever autonomous bus running in the Tier 2 areas between Tier 2 and Hamasen area. So it's how like Kaohsiung has been channeling that spirit of public transport and the chair of the Ecomobility Alliance to provide a better public transportation network.
So during the Ecomobility World Festival, the 4th Ecomobility World Congress 2017 will be held from October 2nd to October 4th in Kaohsiung. Could you give an overview of what the Congress will be discussing and what they will try to achieve in the 3 days that they're meeting?
Yes, that would be the Congress will be running from the 1st to the 4th of October, and it's actually centered on the 3 different things. One is like livable and share and sustainable transportation for the future generation, as mentioned briefly early on. And that will be, we'll start from touching upon the current issues regarding the urban mobility and the current public transportation issues or even private transportation issues we are encountering, we're facing at the moment. And then we'll be moving on to have a look at the Kaohsiung's experiences and Kaohsiung's situation and beyond to Taiwan's problems, and we'll have a look at the international case studies. At the end of the Congress, we will announce the Kaohsiung Declaration and also a Kaohsiung strategy to showcase that the conclusion we have after the Congress, and that would be a more like sustainable, shareable, and livable mode of transportation that's in the context of the sustainable urban environment.
Okay, and last question. So ICLEI supports its member cities and local governments to take more rapid and radical climate actions to become more sustainable through your 8 urban agendas. Could you please touch briefly on the 8 urban agendas and tell us how Kaohsiung stacks up in regards to them?
Actually, like 10 urban agenda at the moment. We are at like 2 more agenda for the past few years. So there are 10 urban agendas, include sustainable city, low carbon city, resource efficient and productive city, resilient city, biodiversity city, smart city, eco-mobility city, happy, healthy, and inclusive community, sustainable local economy and procurement agenda, and also the sustainable city region cooperation. And it's not that easy for like one single city to accomplish all of the agenda, but Kaohsiung is particularly outperforming other cities in the eco-mobility, hence the Eco-Mobility Festival. And also the resilient city, as I briefly mentioned, like Kaohsiung used to be a city that has having kind of heavy industry and air pollution. It's transformed itself into a more like risk and disaster resilient city as well. And that's what Kaohsiung has so far prided itself as being a eco-mobility and sustainable and also the mobility city. And what Kaohsiung has to do in the future, putting more efforts probably to promote a bit more sustainable local economy and procurement agenda, which is, and also the happy and healthy inclusive communities, as Kaohsiung has achieved a certain economy level, that it's time for Kaohsiung to slow down its pace and to look beyond the economic goals and to take care of the local communities and take care of the local economy into consideration and to kind of share the economic growth with all the local residents.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zheng. I hope the festival goes well and keep Kaohsiung transforming.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for listening to this week's Taiwan Talk. I'm Alex Lewis.